Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Ko Calvary te monga, ko Hovdig te waka, ko te aupu whakaora te iwi, no Onihanga ahau. Ko Christoffersen te whānau, ko Michelle toko wahine, ko David Christoffersen toko ingoa. Good morning, everybody. I don't think I have ever stood up to speak before with such majestic music playing behind me. I'm kind of hoping that I might be able to organise that at the police station next time I have to stand up and brief my staff. That would be fantastic. Look, at the start of this morning, it is right to pause for a moment and acknowledge the poignant day that Thursday was in the city for our people. Such a tragic and traumatic and terrifying event to occur in Auckland CBD. And while I am deeply saddened, and I know there will be 3 families experiencing terrible grief right now, I am also deeply proud of the response and the selflessness and the professionalism displayed by my police team on Thursday morning to go and make the city safe. I was a graduate of the Recruit 206 wing, and every police wing has a patron. The patron of my Recruit wing was Reverend Richard Randerson, and when he spoke on graduation day, he referenced the scripture that has been read this morning. God has shown you, O mortal, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you? To act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. And so it was with those words ringing very resounding in my ears as a young police recruit 21 years ago that I headed to my first posting in the Wainuimata police station over the hill from Lower Hutt in the cold winter time of 2022. And I met my first training officer, whose name was Justin Piscini, a big barrel-chested lad of Irish descent, who told me that the most important thing I need to have as a policeman was an arrest book, and I had no idea what he was talking about. So I said to him, Justin, explain to me your arrest book. And he opened the computer, and on it had a spreadsheet of all the arrests that he had made as a police constable. And he said to me, it's very important that you keep a record as a policeman of the number of arrests you make. And very much so, that was what and how you were trained as a police constable in 2001 and 2002. You were given a set of handcuffs and a pepper spray, which was a new invention back then, and a police notebook. And you were directed to go into a police scene, try and identify some offences, gather evidence, and then look to an arrest an offender and bring them to account before the court. And so I headed off on my police journey, believing that was what policing was all about. And it was through my first 10 years of policing that a word started to drop into our police vocabulary. That word was prevention. Throughout those first 10 years of policing, as I spoke with victims of offences, it became more and more apparent that yes, they wanted police to be there when their need was greatest. Yes, they wanted professionalism. Yes, they wanted police to do what we said we would do. But above all, they would have preferred not to have been in that situation in the first place. They would much have preferred not to have been a victim of offences than becoming a victim of an offence. So this started to feed into the police mindset that if we could prevent crime from happening, then we would be doing a far better job for our society moving forward. And so in 2010, I found myself in Taranaki, in a suburb called Marfell, and is assigned as the first community constable to Marfell as this Prevention First methodology started to flow into policing. One night in that community, I received a phone call from a deputy principal from the local primary school, and she informed me that a young 7-year-old child had been walking around the community and he was trying to find his own accommodation for the night. This was not a surprise to the deputy principal, because during the day, word had spread through the school that this young man had been telling his friends he knew mum was going out drinking and he knew he wouldn't be safe for the night if he was left at home. So after a few quick phone calls, we found somewhere safe for the young 7-year-old to stay for the night. The following day, I called mum, and that phone call went something like this: I've got to deal with you for neglecting your child. I'm going to place you under arrest. How do you want to do this? The answer: yes, Dave. Do you want to come to the station, or do you want me to pick you up? Come and pick me up. So I went and saw that mother that day and beeped the police horn, as you do in these small town communities. Out she came to the police car, placed her under arrest, and took her down to the police station. Now, when someone's arrested, as you know, they are placed on bail. That's either police bail or court bail. And now that we're transitioning to this model of Prevention First, I said to myself, how do I do something, one, to hold this mother to account, but two, to do something to prevent this happening again? It so happened that at that same season, in conjunction with that same local school, we were running a parenting program because we'd seen some poor parenting displayed in that community. So I made it part of that police bail conditions for that mother not to consume alcohol and to attend this parenting program, hoping to educate her, to show her that there was a better way to parent your child. Around that same time, as a community constable, you often get referred offenders who are now living in your community. So I turned up to work one day, and there on my desk was a profile of a young man who'd arrived in my suburb. And I looked at it and read it and thought, I need to go and visit this young fellow. So I went round to speak to him, and as we sat there, I became aware that he was on home detention. His home detention was for a raft of offending, but that included some family harm offending, some family violence offending. And then I asked him, who else is staying in the house with you? He had his maternal home, his mother was living with him, and his partner and their 3 children were living with him. Now, I don't know if you know, the restrictions of home detention can be very strong. There's a requirement that you have to then stay in that family home. It was a disaster waiting to happen. A young man with 3 young children under 5 and his partner, who was the victim of some of that offending, stuck in a family home 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So in order to do something to prevent another disaster, I said to him, well, what do you like to do? What are some things that give you a vent, that give you an outlet? And as that discussion progressed, he said to me that he very much enjoyed volleyball. So happened that at the time, myself and another cop and a few other professionals from that community were running a community volleyball team. So we made some arrangements with the probation service for this young man who was on home detention to come out every Sunday night to play volleyball with our community volleyball team. That gave him a vent and an outlet, and it prevented further offending. So through that first 10 years of my policing experience, prevention started to feed into the police mindset. Let's jump forward now to 2023. Prevention First is still our primary operating model in the New Zealand Police. And the police toolkit has grown. As I said back in 2001 when I first started policing, the toolkit was simply pepper spray, notebook, and handcuffs. and I put my hand behind my back because that's where I keep my handcuffs at work. It was tucked into the belt there, so that's a natural reaction. Whenever I say handcuffs, I tend to throw my arm behind my back to grab them. They're not on today. I'm hoping not to arrest anyone following the service this morning, so please keep it seemly, So in 2001, your police toolkit and your police mindset was very much arrest. Let's move forward now to 2023. The police toolkit has changed and the police mindset has changed. In 2023, when you come out of police college, you have a little bit more tactical options. As you know, you've seen us wearing vests, and now there's a taser that's been added to that toolkit. The handcuffs are still there, the pepper sprays still there, but you also have a police phone. And on that police phone is an app. And the name of that app is UFI. Word meaning support. Every job that a police person goes to now, be that at a home or on the roadside or standing opposite a car, they are encouraged to have their eyes open and look for human need. To not only look to identify an offence, as we did back in 2001, but also to consider, what is the humanity that I'm seeing in front of me? Where am I seeing human need? And how can I respond to that need? Now, in my role, it's largely administrative now, and I don't get in the field that often. So in preparation for today, I asked a number of my work groups, my staff this week, who has used the UFI app in the last week? Well, Andrew, a constable on section, reported to me that he had been down to a family harm incident at a high-rise apartment down on Beach Road. As he took that report, he realised that there was some underlying financial stress for that family. And so he went through his UFI app and he found on that app a referral to a construction company that were looking for workers. And as he discussed the situation with the father of that family, the father said, "We're struggling to pay the rent and we're probably going to have to move." Andrew said to him, "How about I send a referral through to this construction company and there's an opportunity for you for work." So after punching a few buttons, off that referral went. Now the father of that family turned to Andrew and said, "Will I get in trouble if I don't turn up?" And Andrew said to him, "No." His mindset, the father's mindset, still was that police's primary role is one of arrest. And we do on occasion have to do that. But there's so much more depth to what policing is now. Carl, another of my staff members, went to a family harm episode where there wasn't evidence of an offence, but there was an indication that there was some offending going on. Now, in those circumstances, police have the power to issue police safety orders, which are a little bit like a very short-term protection order that can order the perpetrator or the perceived perpetrator of offending to stay away from the family for 10 days. So in this situation, Carl had to action a police safety order. The risk with that meant that the breadwinner was going to be out of that family home for 10 days. So Carl got on his UFI app and he sent a referral through to a food bank service to ensure that food was provided for that family for that week. Grace, another one of my constables, arrested an offender in the last week for stealing perfume from a shop in town. And as happens when you arrest someone, you bring them back to a police station and you interview them. And back in 2001, the primary role of that interview was to get them to admit the offending and to identify the ingredients of a particular offence. In 2023, that role's changed. Yes, we still do that interview. Following that interview, Grace got into discussion with this offender about what was the motivation behind his offending. He disclosed to her that, yes, I have some drug and alcohol addiction issues, and that I sell this perfume and that helps me fuel my addiction. Grace again was able to get on that UFI app and punch a few buttons and send a referral through for this young man to alcohol and drug rehabilitation facility. So as Policing back in 2001 was all about the arrest. In 2023, our policing has moved so much more that we now become a referrer to other social service agencies. You know, every policing situation that we enter into, generally we are dealing with someone who's mad, bad, or sad. And there is huge opportunity, if we but turn our eyes to it, to point people to right directions. Justice and mercy. The two go hand in hand. They are not mutually exclusive. And I believe this is about a process of God's kingdom coming in more fullness. He has shown you, O mortal, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you? To act justly and to love mercy. Shakespeare said it very well. The quality of mercy is not strained, it droppeth as the gentle rain from heaven upon the place beneath, and earthly power doth show like us gods when mercy seasons justice. Every 3 years we have this political thing go on where crime gets mentioned in our newspapers, and you would have read the rhetoric, soft on crime, hard on crime, as if that is a continuum. I think that is the completely wrong way to view how society should respond to crime. I want my staff to go into each situation with their eyes wide open. Yes, to use their policing power to sometimes arrest, and at the very hard end of the wedge, as we saw on Thursday, to use that power to protect others. But I also want them to go into each policing situation with a view to showing mercy, to having heart, to understanding the need that they are seeing before them. And I believe in the police force, if they do so. This is about God's kingdom coming in more fullness in my workplace. E tō mātou matu i te rangi, kia tapu tō ingoa, kia tae mai tau rangatiratanga, kia me te tau e pai ai ki runga i te whenua. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be your name, your kingdom come. So as a policeman, my daily prayer is that I will take the opportunities to bring God's kingdom in greater fullness in my workplace. And if that means that Andrew, that Carl, and that Grace, as they go into each of those situations, they're seeing human need and they're responding with justice and mercy, then I celebrate, because that is God's kingdom coming in greater fullness in the New Zealand Police Force. Kia ora.